Guys, it's Mary McIntyre. Welcome back to another video. Big part of my Halloween display the last few years has been zombie dolls. In fact, one of the earliest videos I ever did on my channel was doing a zombie doll makeover to some dolls I'd picked up from the charity shop and from Free Cycle. Every year I look for dolls that would be appropriate, and this year I've managed to get 3 from the charity shop and 1 was from a yard sale. So last time I did this, I did it with liquid latex mixed with flour to create a chunky paste. I'm not going to do it that way this time. I'm going to try it using similar technique to how I do my spell books, and that is to paint a little bit of PVA glue and then use layers of kitchen towel over the top to create a really mottled texture. The kitchen roll that I have up here just has like a dotty texture rather than one with a circular pattern on it, and when I paint that it will give that kind of slightly crusty texture, and I will be able to kind of make tears in the face if I want to. So one of these dolls is got a soft body but solid limbs, and the other 2 are actually fully poseable plastic, which is an absolute win because it's really difficult getting the zombie dolls to stay sitting or standing when they've got that kind of squishy body. So I'm so happy that all 3 of these are actually ones that are the design that are my first choice. Well, 2 of them are, I should say. So I'm going to use just bog standard PVA glue that I've got in bulk and add a tiny bit of water to that to make it paint on nicer. I'm going to go all around the head on this guy and actually the whole body and leave them to dry overnight or for a couple of days, and then I can paint on top of that way more easily than I can paint on top of liquid latex. So I've had these dolls sitting looking at me in the other side of the room for weeks now, so I'm really excited to get going. So I'm going to take the clothing off them, get the hair tied up on the 2 girls that have hair, and then I can get started. They've been drying overnight, they're really solid. Some of the really thin areas have actually dried almost clear with the flesh colour showing through, that's fine. If there are any bits where some of the natural skin colour shows through, that'll be good. What I'm going to paint them with first is this mixture that I've created with black acrylic, no I haven't, mostly white, tiny dot of black to make it grey, and then a hint of green, so it's got this kind of greyish green tone. If it ends up too green or too whatever, I can stipple over the top of it with a brighter colour again. I want to try to not paint the fabric body because I might leave that as a t-shirt underneath. I did that with my previous ones because I've measured them all to make new clothes for them, but making a t-shirt for a doll is not easy, so I can use that as the t-shirt, and she's going to get like a pinafore dress over the top. So I'm just going to slap the paint on. So I've added a bit of water to the paint to make it a little bit more fluid, so hopefully the colour will be right. Once this is dry, I will go over all the areas like on the face of this one where I created like an open wound. I was trying to make it so there was an area where the skin's starting to break down and there's like a kind of scab inside, so that is why I did that. I will go around the eyes and make them darker afterwards. I just want to get this base colour on first, get them looking very sickly. Okay, my phone battery died, so I had to carry on with a couple of steps without filming. So I went over with red nail varnish so that I could add like a shiny blood effect, and then I got my yellow nail varnish to make it look like there's pus in some of these wounds, and that looks incredibly horrendous and very, very effective. I painted the eyes white as well. I can't remember if I got that on film. And I gave a couple of them some snotty nose. Now, one other additional thing that I did with one of my previous zombie dolls is make maggots. Obviously, maggots are horrendous. I don't know anybody that likes them. This is very much an optional step, but I found my liquid latex and just blobbed bits of it on the mat. And all you do is just roll it up and you've got a maggot. And they look so authentic and so horrific. So I've got quite a few maggots on one of my old zombie dolls. So you can then just glue them into any of the wounds. So yeah, it is possibly a step too far for some people. And to be honest, from the distance that most people see my zombie dolls, you can't know they're even there. And they stay rolled up because liquid latex will stick to itself once dry. Like, the latex is so sticky, so when you roll it up, it stays. So I will carry on doing that, and I'll just probably glue them with a bit of PVA glue and then leave them to sit. Downstairs, I've been working on drafting some patterns for clothes for these poor little naked babies. I will update on that in a second, but I want to get this done. Okay, I think I'm done gluing these on. The glue's not dry yet. They are so horrendous. Kind of makes me feel sick, and I made it. Lots on the big wounds on this guy. Incredibly effective if the goal is to make you feel repulsed. It's so grim. So grim. Particularly proud of this arm one. It looks really horrendous, and she's got some on her face. So I'll leave those to dry while I go and sort out which fabrics I've used. I've gone into my fabric stash and found fabrics that I think will work, and I've got the patterns drafted out, so I will update when I've got the clothing fabric ready. Me forever to do, because I really have a problem with thinking how a 2D shape is going to work when sewn together to create a 3D garment. But I have been working, just making lots of templates with paper and wrapping them around the dolls until I was confident that they were going to fit. So I've got a large blue flowery dress that's going to have these pockets on. They're all kind of inside out at the moment, so the fabric is actually brighter than this, but this is the pink dress for the red-headed doll, and this is going to be dungaree shorts for the baby. I don't know if this is going to work. It's such a weird shape to try to get to fit with a doll, and I just don't know if when these are on him whether he'll be able to move his legs without ripping his bum seam, but we'll see. I'll see how it goes. As I pin stuff together, then realise it's a lot easier to stitch the pockets on first, but I kind of don't want to do that in case they don't fit. But I've kind of come to the conclusion, if they don't fit, they're just going to get like an extra panel of fabric stitched into them, because all I'm going to do is weather them, and they're going to be in the dark in the garden, so nobody's judging me on my seamstress skill when they're looking at a doll that's got maggots crawling out of its head. So do you know what I mean? It's kind of getting perfectly made clothes is not the priority here, but I've got this ready to go. So I hopefully the maggots will now be dry, so I can move the dolls off the desk and get this sewing done. Right, the pinafore dresses fit. I just need to sew the buttons on. I haven't done buttonholes. They're not going to ever get changed, so they're going to stitch the button, and the button will hold the strap in place. I had a bit of a nightmare with these dungarees. They're such a weird shape. When I was making them, I was like, something not right here, but they have to be that wide so that when he's sitting down, they're not loose on his, they're not too tight on his bum. So what I'm going to do with those is just hand stitch a few darts and just put some buttons on. So I've got mismatched buttons on a couple of these, purely because I've got a button tin of about 3,000 buttons and almost none of them are pairs, but that's okay. These are an army of zombie dolls that are in a ragged state. Now, I did lose a few maggots with the trying on outfits. That's a phrase I never thought I'd say. It is really sinister. So yeah, I'm going to hand sew those and stick the buttons on, and then it's a case of getting the black paint out again and making these clothes dirty. So focusing the weathering around the bottoms and around the seams on the pocket, and then just general dirt everywhere really. And I need to kind of add more dirt to their feet. Their feet are dirty, but I think they could be dirtier. pretty much onto the final step now. I did lose a few maggots when I was messing around weathering the hair, and I tried using this old spray bottle with black watered down acrylic in it, but there's a reason it was in the bin. It's because it doesn't work very well, so I gave up and just used a brush instead. So I'm going to use hot glue to put the remaining maggots on, because the PVA clearly is not that strong, so this will also dry faster, because part of the problem is that PVA glue takes a while to set. So it's not ideal from a colour standpoint, but I'm going to go with it.
So here they are finished. They are very sinister. They've turned out really well. I love the way that the kitchen towel and PVA glue worked. It made the acrylic paint bond really well. The maggots are obviously a horrendous addition, but I think that they're very, very effective. And actually the thing that really makes this work is the weathering. I spent ages making these clothes filthy, making their limbs filthy too. So I hope you got some inspiration from this and enjoyed watching. Thanks so much. See you in the next one. Bye for now.